Given the current conflict in Iran, tensions rising around the world, and even problems that occurred domestically, I question the reality of a possible world peace. Now, biblically, there are scriptures that are written stating that one day there will be an ultimate world peace. However, we don't know when that day will come, if ever. We deal with things that happen in our earthly world and our reality, and quite frankly, I always wrestle with the idea of even the possibility of peace. Now, yes, there are situations where some countries, find a way to peace together. They sign treaties, they work through their differences, and they find a path forward. While that is possible, and it has happened in history, and hopefully will continue to happen, I wonder if this is actually possible on a true global scale. Because, yes, crime is slowly coming downwards. If you look and you zoom outwards and you look at the entire history that basically humans have been in existence, crime has been slowly going down. Now, will that crime ever reach to 0%? Because technically, when we speak about peace, we're not just speaking about one country being at peace with another. We're actually talking about every single individual person being at peace with every other individual person. Now, oftentimes, we're not even at peace with ourselves. So, what ends up happening is we have a conflict internally, and many times we lash out and we let it out on other people, therefore contributing to a lack of peace. And there is more problems than there are solutions and calm resolutions. Now, this situation in my mind rambles on and on and on and on and on up until I get to one really specific point in this entire concept of peace. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the world that has a family. And my family, quite frankly, is really big. Just for my father's side alone, I have like hundreds of people that are somehow related to me through the entire lineage of my parents, my grandparents, and their brothers, sisters, cousins, and so on and so forth. Now we add my mother's family into the mix. Now, I'm not here preaching that we have to talk to every single member of our super distant family. Realistically speaking, it's nearly impossible to be able to speak to so many people in a day, in a week, in a month. But the biggest caveat is those people that you should relatively be close with, maybe you're not so close with, and maybe you actually have problems with them. Now, in certain situations, there are siblings out there that no longer speak, parents that disown their children, things of that nature that happen so often, I should say, that it contributes to really big stress factors in people's lives, and it reduces the amount of peace. So the real question becomes, if we can't truly have peace in our own homes and within our own families, how can we expect for the peace to come out of our house into the community and outward into the rest of the world? It's just not possible. If you have an issue with your brother, your sister, your aunt, uncle, child, whomever it is in your family that you have a problem with, and you find it necessary to no longer speak to them or to disconnect yourself from them, and you just find yourself at ease without having them in your life, you start to question the reality of a real long lasting eternal peace worldwide. This is a really, really deep concept that I always think about in my mind, because there's so many problems between people. You get cut off in traffic, you get angry, you pull up next to that person, you argue with them, you fight. That contributes to a reduction of peace. And this is kind of the concept that I'm trying to tackle, because I wonder if it is at all possible for people to actually look internally, fix whatever is wrong inside of their own mind, soul, and body, because every single person goes through some sort of crisis. It doesn't necessarily have to be super like extravagant of a crisis. It could be something small. It could be the job you didn't get. It could be getting let go from your job. It could be not passing an exam. It could be a lack of sleep. It could be a lack of eating. And, the list goes on. It could be a factor, small or large, that contributes to some sort of crisis internally. And then we externalize those crises, and we make things so bad for not only ourselves, but the people around us. And then we contribute to arguments, hatred, things that we say and can't take back, things that we do and we can't take back, hurting people. This is a reduction of peace. So if we're constantly in this loop, and we're in this loop within a small community of our peers, or even smaller, if you go deeper into, and you zoom into that picture, you have family members who they're not it for you. You can't get along with them. If you can't get along with your own blood, how can you expect to get along with some random person who didn't even grow up in your house, who didn't grow up in your community, who didn't grow up in your exact culture, who doesn't share any sort of values the same as you? They are completely polar opposites of you. They're not going to find much interest in aligning their interests with yours. They're going to want to do their own thing, and they're going to want you to do their thing, which leads me to the second part, or maybe the third part, I guess, of what it truly means to have world peace. In this instance, does peace necessarily need to have people getting along, or does peace just need to be people not fighting? Because I think that there is a massive delineation there. For example, there are billions of people that I've never met, never will meet, will never speak to. I don't have any problems with them because I don't know them. I've never spoken to them. So I'm at peace with them, right? Or am I not? Is there peace only when you know someone and you can get along with them? Or is there peace only in the instance where there is no problem? Because technically speaking, let's just say, for just a moment here, let's just play a little game. Let's just say that the entire world exists in sectors, right? And we'll call these sectors land. Now imagine everyone has their own land. Maybe they don't even have a place to live on in this land, such as a house or an apartment. And no two people ever come into contact ever. They don't know their names. They don't know anything about one another. They don't talk. They don't communicate. They don't cross roads between each other. They're just completely secluded. Do those people have peace? Because what if one day they're forced to talk to one another? Would they continue on that path of having basically that quote unquote peace? Or is the opposite true, where you kind of have to cross paths with one another, you have to communicate with one another, and you have to learn to get along and set aside your differences? Because avoiding conflict in general versus finding things that you agree on, I think, are two totally different ideas here. And I just wonder your thoughts, because there's so many factors involved in how we deal with people, how we live in society. And if we go to war with one another every single time that we disagree, we're never going to have peace. And, this isn't meant to be politically driven whatsoever. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on, who you support, who you hate. And even that itself should show you that there is no real peace. And you might feel like you're a peaceful person, but maybe you're a peaceful person only with the people that you agree with. And once you come in contact with someone that you disagree with, you're not so peaceful, and you're even willing to go to certain lengths, such as maybe fighting with them, defending yourself in whatever way, shape, or form that may be. And so that creates a little disconnect from each other. We have to be able to find common ground somehow, some way. We're never going to agree with every single person that we come in contact with. It's not possible. So if we can find a way to internalize our thoughts and feelings in a way where we kind of understand who we truly are as people, then maybe we can deal with others in a way where, if we understand ourselves and the things that we like and dislike, we can kind of navigate the relationships that we have with people. Because, for example, if you know, like, you're a stubborn person, it would be in your best interest to act out in a way where you're not actively being stubborn, but you're trying to express yourself in a way where you tell people, hey man, I'm usually really, really stubborn, and try to find a solution to that instead of just being hard-headed, not agreeing with someone, and then saying, hey man, it's just we don't get along, so I'm done with that. No, if you know there are negatives in your own personality, then you should, actively watch out for those negatives and maybe try to avoid them within yourself. Because if you don't project outwardly that you're stubborn, then you would find it so surprising how well you could agree with people. And that's just one example. There are a multitude of examples that we can go through. The best course of action is to just figure it out, what you like, dislike, who you truly are. Once you internalize all these things, when you externalize yourself to people, you'll be able to navigate yourself to them and not vice versa. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope today was better than yesterday. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.